Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. This morning I'm looking at a book which has come to us from CLARITAX publications. This is a book on tax law. It's one of a series that they've produced which are extremely effective books and very, very helpful to anybody involved in this area of law. I think it's also relevant for the general reader and anybody filling in a tax form as well. However, what we think of this particular title will become apparent very shortly. It's concerning financial planning with trusts. The book is now a little old because it's for 2014 to 15 and the new book will be on the market before too long. There have been a lot of changes, of course, with the general election and a new government, a majority Conservative government, so there will possibly be changes in the future, but at the moment this is where the law is today. I'm recording this in the summer of 2015. The book's been written by John Woolley, who will be known to many of you, and as I say, it's part of the CLARITAX books series and linked with Technical Connection Limited. Now, my wife Elizabeth and I have given this book a title for our review. Here is a clear explanation of the rules on financial planning with trusts for the financial year 2014 to 15. And I'll get into the subject matter in a minute. Let's look at the book first. I'm not quite sure whether it's a green or what sort of cover it is, but it's sort of greeny type cover. There we go, at the front there. There's the spine and then there's the back. It's a paperback book. It runs to 500 pages. There's a good index there at the back. It's slightly different structure with the CLARITAX books. They have the cases at the back and they also have the statutes at the back, which you can see there. And then what you've got on the right at the end is you've got a glossary. Normally you get these at the front, but you've actually got a glossary of trust terms, which I think is very helpful, having obviously done trusts law as an undergraduate and having taught it. Some of these words are actually explained, and again it's quite useful. I mean, the accumulation period is mentioned. Perpetuity period is mentioned too, for all of those who love perpetuities and accumulations. Not the most popular subject I found when I was studying. Now the book itself, it runs through, there aren't footnotes or anything like that, but the front we've got the actual title. There's the title page there. Then you've got that as well. You've got a note about CLARITAX, other titles from the series which are listed there, which I'm reviewing. The law is stated as the 1st of August 2014. Details about the author and the publisher. And then you've got, and there's a thanks, a little dedication there, which I'll mention, to Marcia Banner. Now there's an abbreviation section at the front. There's the glossary at the back and the abbreviations at the front. And then you've got the table of contents, quite detailed again. You should be able to find what you're looking for quite quickly. Obviously, trusts law does have a certain vocabulary of its own to a certain extent, but I'm sure you will find this quite easy. There's a good introduction. It's very readable. All the CLARITAX books I've found to be incredibly well written. They are readable books, and books which will of course assist you as an advisor in whatever capacity with the client. This is what we say about the book anyway. Financial planning can be a most important aspect of an individual's overall budget, but it gets a bit of a hard press these days because of the mounting concerns, certainly in the newspapers and on television, of those who evade, that's criminal, or avoid, that's civil, immoral, their tax liabilities. And obviously it's an emotive subject and it's an important subject because the politicians at the end of the day are the ones who impose the taxes through Parliament. We have to pay them. Unfortunately, of course, this sort of argument that's been going and the concerns that are being expressed about people who are not paying any tax and actually avoiding things, this can lead to some misunderstandings about the concepts and the working of a trust as a useful financial planning tool, because planning is a sensible, if you think of it, it's a very sensible thing to do. You've got to plan for the future about what you're going to do. You've got to plan with your finances and everything else. And there's no suggestion of doing things which are clearly either immoral or illegal. But there are problems in this area, so you've got to be a bit careful with the words financial planning. But I think personally it's perfectly reasonable to look at how you're going to minimise any liabilities you have, which is a sensible thing to do for anybody. And that's where this book comes in. And as I say, I think it's an eminently readable book, and something which I think the general reader will find helpful, as well as the more detailed professional advisor. What we have here then with this substantive work, it's quite substantial actually, 500 pages, is an examination of a wide range of topical tax and financial planning strategies using trusts. In particular, the author John Woolley considers the following points. They are of course listed in the book and in the blurb and everything. How trusts can help with capital gains tax, income tax and inheritance tax planning, some of the special trust arrangements used in the financial services sector, and how different trusts can be used effectively to meet a client's financial planning objectives. And can I say, of course, that with things like CGT, obviously income tax is in a slightly separate category, but certainly inheritance tax and other matters, these are all now going to be subject to what the new government decides to do in its 5-year programme from 2015 to 2020. So we will have changes that some have already come in with an emergency budget a few weeks ago, and as a result of that we will be looking ahead with the new edition at what the implications are for everyone. And so the book is most successful in our view in identifying the type of trust that may be appropriate to you in different situations, and it fully considers any tax implications, looking at appropriate planning angles and potential pitfalls which you may not have thought of. And the work's designed to give specific and practical help to advisors who feel that a trust may be appropriate for a client but who wish to know more about the full implications, advantages and potential disadvantages of using a particular trust. It does just that, and is soundly constructed on statutory and case law principles based on the author's experience of working in the area for over 30 years. And Woolley's new edition has once more been thoroughly revised, with every chapter updated to a lesser or greater degree. As I say, it is a moving subject because there will be changes with new finance statutes coming on board. The current edition also includes a chapter on the impact of a factor, if I can call it that, on trusts. Other new material includes the current position on the disclosure of trust interests and frequent references to the consultative document on inheritance tax and discretionary trusts. We found the chapter on death benefits under registered pension schemes very helpful because it has been extensively rewritten to cover the changing legislation. Obviously there could well be further changes, and the chapter on trusts for the disabled and vulnerable has also been rewritten and expanded, and that I think again is of importance because there will be quite a few clients who fall in that category, I'm sure. Therefore, if you're a tax specialist, whether as an accountant, lawyer, whatever, you may already know about the ever-growing stable of books on tax from CLARITAX. And we've reviewed a number of them now, and I think they're all of a very high quality. If not, and if you don't know about CLARITAX, it's a great discovery to be made, because I have found these books, as I say, very helpful. Because we don't do much, certainly as trainee barristers, if I can call it that these days, bar school, you don't do very much in this area. But later on, you certainly need to know some basics, because quite a lot of case law, a lot of the clients you have, the work you do in court, will have some sort of link, and so you've got to come at it with some form of authority. And I think these books will give you a little bit of companionship when you're trying to think of what you're going to be saying to your clients. Let me just conclude by saying a few things about CLARITAX. They complement what is on offer from the larger tax publishers, with trenchant observations for all involved in tax matters. Remember our words, these books, including this one on trusts and financial planning, contain the most accessible and certainly business-like advice on tax that you're going to come across. And we think CLARITAX is rather a good name actually for these concise and handy volumes, because they do clarify in plain, precise language all the pertinent information you'll need to know across a range of highly specific areas in tax. Typically, says CLARITAX, and I've use this quote elsewhere, our books cover niche topics in greater detail and take a more practical approach to particular tax issues. Absolutely right. And so it is, of course, with this latest title from John Woolley, who actually is a director of Technical Connection Limited. I think his expertise is a great help to us, so thank you, John, very much indeed. And as I said, the law is stated at the 1st of August 2014. This is the book again, sort of greenish type cover, spine and then the back. I think it's green, something like that. Now, using trusts in wills, here we go, that's a good area to look at. Loans to widows, widowers, all the various rules, transferable, nil rate, band and discretionary trusts. So if you are a trusts waller, this book is for you. I love trusts, I love teaching it, it's great fun. Initially you can be a bit worried about it because it's involving like the law of real property issues, which can be rather complex, but trusts actually is a fascinating area. But I say that because I'm a member of Lincoln's Inn, I suppose. Thank you to all concerned anyway. Bye-bye.